Well, you've all heard the poll that came out said an unnamed Working Families Party candidate would get 24%. Well, I'm a working teamster with a name, Howie Hawkins. I think that poll was about us because we are running against Cuomo. We have no hesitation. Working Families Party right now, you can hear the screams of pain, arms are being twisted. There was a deal cut. I heard a report from somebody in Park Slope that all the black SUVs and all the security have been outside de Blasio's house all week while he's got Cuomo people and Working Families people. He's knocking heads together to get a deal. And the report last night was they got a deal. Cuomo has to support getting a Democratic majority in the state Senate. Well, duh. Well, you know, in fact, he likes Republicans there. They're a buffer for him. And he likes those independent, so-called independent Democrats. They're about as independent, I don't know what. They totally tied to, you know, the corporate money. They are a buffer for him from any progressive changes that may come from the Democratic Assembly. So that's one. Two, he's got to support home rule for minimum wage, which would allow New York to have a higher than state standard. And three, they got to support public campaign finance. Cuomo can give it lip service, but what's he going to do after the election? He's going to lay it on the line for those issues? What's his record? Hell no. You know, his record is we're going to go after the public employees, especially them bad teachers, you know, that are wrecking our kids' education. And he's trying to privatize schools. That's why Brian Jones, an educator, a teacher for 9 years in New York City public schools, is my running mate because as I began the campaign calling for a Green New Deal, economic human rights, we've been talking about since 1944 when Roosevelt State of the Union address to Congress said we should have the right to a job, a decent wage, health care, good education, affordable housing, transit, the things that ought to be basic and taken for granted. And we don't have, despite Democrats being in charge of this country, majority in Congress, running this state for 71 years since that speech was made. Same demands that were brought down to Washington, D.C. for jobs and freedom. They asked for a $2 minimum wage in 1963. That's worth $15.44 today. So when we ask for $15, we're being modest, you know? So, you know, I think what we got to tell the working families voters, the leadership's cut a deal. They'll probably get the endorsement for Cuomo, but there are voters out there that vote for them and, you know, get involved for the best of reasons because they think we're going to fight for progressive policies, and they're not going to get them. And what I'm going to tell them is we feel your pain. We're here for you. You're welcome to work and organize for us for the things that your party was supposedly talking about. Now, that means in that poll, 24% for the unnamed candidate from the left, 24% for the Republican, 39% for the Democrat. I guarantee you, we get a few debates where I get to take Cuomo on for his policies, put our policies forward, and we're going to be up on top. Because what we are talking about is what working people want. We know from the polls, the problem of politics in this country is that what the people want doesn't get translated into public policy because the two parties are run by the 1%. You may have heard this study out of Princeton and Northwestern. They went through 1,100 policies before Congress. The working people got none of them. That was in conflict with the 1%. We got nothing. That's because we don't have our own party. We can't lobby the elite to do for us. We got to do for ourselves. We need our own party. So this is not just about issues. It's about building a party of working people that organizes, doesn't just mobilize. You know how all these liberal groups, you know, they get you on their list and they e-blast you, say do this, do that, come to this meeting, and we'll talk about it, but they don't let you talk. They tell you what's going on. Our model's got to be what SNCC did in Mississippi with the Freedom Democrats. Wasn't Bob Moses, Harvard math professor, who spoke for the Freedom Democrats. It wasn't Muriel Tillinghast, who was our vice presidential candidate with Ralph Nader in New York in '96, SNCC veteran. Wasn't Coley Clark, who we've run for Senate. They were coming out of, Moses out of Harvard, Tillinghast out of Howard, Coley Clark out of Tougaloo. And they organized the grassroots people. And who did they pick to speak for them? Fannie Lou Hamer. That's right. Come on. Okay? And when it came time for the sellout deal the Democrats were trying to say, they'd sent Hubert Humphrey and Mondale, the liberals, Johnson sent them, said, tell these people we'll take care of them in 4 years. Give them 2 seats in the back of the delegation and seat the Dixiecrats. And Fannie Lou Hamer famously said, I've been sick and tired all my life. And I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And told Humphrey and Mondale where they could stick that proposal. And at the time, Martin Luther King and the civil rights leadership was saying, take the deal, take the deal. But Fannie Lou Hamer, she was working class. She come from picking cotton. She was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And she was not going to sell out. What did she get from selling out? She would get nothing. And that's the kind of party we need, where we act and speak for ourselves. So my challenge to us is, okay, we're poised. Maybe we can get 10%. It's going to be difficult. People go for unnamed. You put a name on it, the vote comes down. We don't have the $33 million that Cuomo has to advertise, because that's how most people hear about this stuff. They don't follow the news very closely. So, our challenge is, are we ready for this influx of people? Are we ready to organize and not just mobilize? So while we got our Green New Deal and all these other issues we're going to raise, I think the big issue that Shama mentioned is that we need a party of the working people, and we need to figure out how to organize. And all these people are going to be interested in the campaign. Are we going to follow up with them? Are we going to get them to a meeting? Now, are we going to listen, not just tell them what to do? In other words, build a real counter-independent movement and culture. Because all now people are getting is messages from the corporate media. And then the liberal foundations fund these groups that say they're the progressives. But, the revolution won't be funded, not by the 1%. It's got to be funded by the 99%. And I don't want to steal the thunder of the money pitchers who's coming, but I will say this. Our political independence depends on our financial independence. And in this country, we've got the idea that somebody else is going to fund our movement. No, all of us got to put in a little. And there are a hell of a lot more of us than there are them. And I'll tell you, Shama outspent the Democrat, I believe. Ty Moore, that other socialist alternative candidate, outspent the Democrat. I ran for city council in Syracuse, got as high as 48%. I outspent the Democrat because I had a lot of little contributors and he just had a few developers and landlords. We got enough of us that we can compete. But are we ready to do that? Are we ready to be responsible and everybody got to pay dues? Like you're in a union, you pay your dues, you get your benefits. We got to do that for the party. And then we all got to be active and contribute. Like Shama said, it's not, I would be a little more modest, fit it into your schedule and make it a long-term commitment because it's a marathon, not a sprint. But everybody's got something to contribute. And, like I've been saying, it's not my campaign, it's our campaign. Right? So, welcome to our campaign. I think this year we're really going to make a difference and we're going to change the dynamic in New York. So after the election, they want to know what the left thinks. They're not going to go to some liberal Democrat or another line for them, the Working Families Party. They're going to come talk to the Greens. So we're poised to really change the whole conversation and the whole power structure. So let's keep going. Thank you.